Welcome, boys and girls. Welcome back to another Lullaby Bedtime Stories. Tonight's story is entitled The Betrayer. The Betrayer. Boys and girls, Jesus knew that the Pharisees and the religious leaders hated and feared him, and that they were anxiously waiting for an opportunity to trap and arrest him. Therefore, he would hang out in Jerusalem during the day, but at night he would stay at his friend's Lazarus' house with Lazarus and his sisters in a little town called Bethany. Boys and girls, even among Jesus' 12 disciples, there was one who would become his enemy. Wow. Imagine that. Judas Iscariot was his name. He was one of the 12 disciples who was in charge of the money for Jesus' ministry. He was dishonest and he was a thief. He would always keep some of Jesus' money for himself instead of giving it to those who needed it. And one evening when Jesus and his disciples was invited to a dinner, a woman came in with an alabaster box filled with expensive perfume. It smelled so good. It was so expensive that it would have paid a one person for a whole year doing common labor. That's how expensive it was. And so she began to pour the perfume on Jesus' hair and pour the perfume on his feet. And she knelt down and wiped Jesus' feet with her hair. And everybody was staring at her. And Judas was angry because he said, "Why is she wasting this expensive perfume on Jesus? This perfume could have been sold and given to the poor." He wasn't concerned about the poor. He wanted to take some of the money and keep it for himself. But boys and girls, Jesus knew all about it. This was not a surprise for Jesus. And also, boys and girls, Judas was upset with Jesus too because he wanted Jesus to be a famous military leader, one who would march into Rome and conquer Rome with his army and then make Judas the chief financial officer of Jesus' regime. And because Jesus wouldn't do any of those things, he was so disappointed and upset with Jesus. And so Judas tried all he could to push Jesus, to try to push his hand, and because he was filled with greed from money and power and position of authority. Judas went to the chief priest in secret and asked him how much that he would pay him if he turned Jesus over to them. Wow. The chief priest couldn't believe his ears. He said, "What? You're one of Jesus' disciples, and you're asking me how much I would give you to deliver Jesus into my hands?" You see, the chief priests and the religious leaders, they knew that Judas was one of Jesus' disciples, one of his close, most trusted disciples. So they offered him 30 pieces of silver. How sad. Not 30 pieces of gold, but 30 pieces of silver, which is the price for a slave burial. He took 30 pieces of silver to deliver Jesus over to them. From then on, boys and girls, Judas waited for the opportune time to hand Jesus over to the religious leaders. But boys and girls, can you imagine the pain in Jesus' heart, knowing that one of his very own followers, his disciples, was a betrayer? Boys and girls, I pray that you never have to experience what it feels like to be betrayed by your best friend or someone whom you love or someone who says they love you. I pray that God will shield you and protect you from betrayers. But I want you to know that if it ever happens to you that you are betrayed by your best friend or a family member or somebody that loves you or say that they love you and that you love, remember Jesus. Remember how he felt. Remember that Jesus was betrayed and he knows what it feels like. And he will help you to get through it. All you have to do is tell Jesus all about it. Because he loves you, boys and girls. He loves you. He loves you so much. Thank you for listening to Lullaby Bedtime Stories. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell others about Lullaby Bedtime Stories. See you next time. Bye-bye now.